I'm a firm believer in studying at home, making the most of your home time to learn. I don't think there's a real need to go abroad to learn any language, Spanish included. However, if you do have the opportunity to go abroad, you may as well go, and you're probably wondering, where is the best place in Latin America to learn Spanish? I get this question a lot, so to give you some recommendations and also an action plan for studying Spanish in Latin America, I wanted to make this quick video. But first, please subscribe to the Fluent Spanish Academy YouTube channel. We release new videos every week, sometimes multiple videos, and you'll get notified of every new video when it goes live by subscribing. So first up, Argentina. Now I'm biased here because I did live in Argentina back in 2005 for 6 months when I was still learning Spanish. But I really couldn't resist putting it in here because there are just too many great things about Argentina. Argentinians are friendly, they're generous, they're welcoming. Buenos Aires in particular is a cultural melting pot, and for these reasons it's easy to meet people. There are also lots of outdoor activities to do around Argentina, so you can easily combine language study with backpacking throughout the country. Argentinians also have a very unique style of Spanish. There's a lot of Italian influence in there, and they use voceo. There's colloquial language, and for all these reasons, a lot of people might tell you to avoid Argentina, but I beg to differ. I personally don't think it really matters that much which variety of Spanish you study and which variety you surround yourself in. As a Spanish student, you're still going to have some kind of foreign accent, and to be honest, your accent's going to change over time as well. So as an intermediate learner, you should have no problems getting into the swing of understanding Argentinians. That is my opinion about the best place to learn Spanish in Latin America, but what about other experts? Well, I asked some friends of mine in the Spanish teaching field what they thought. The consensus, perhaps surprisingly, was Colombia. Several experts all recommended Colombia. Andrew has a site called Learn Spanish with Andrew. Connor runs the Language Czar. Rob is from Spanish Obsessed. They all agree that Colombian Spanish, particularly in the central region in and around Bogota, has a very neutral accent. It's a clean, grammatically correct sort of Spanish. Colombians are also very outgoing, which will make it a lot easier to practice your Spanish. Its cities also boast a lot of fantastic cultural attractions. Next up is Guatemala. Now, Amit from Always Spanish agrees with the other experts, but also adds that you can't beat Guatemala if expense is a factor. You get the most bang for your buck here in Central America. A private Spanish tutor in this part of the world costs less than $10 an hour usually, so you can take a lot more classes and just do a lot more with your time in these budget-friendly countries. To top it all off, Guatemala has an incredible amount of diversity packed into one little country. Next is Mexico. Now, a lot of people I know say that Mexico is the best place to learn Spanish, and one reason, of course, is that it is one of the biggest exporters of Spanish language content. Think telenovelas or soap operas, movies, music, and so on. So no matter where you go in the Spanish-speaking world, people recognize and understand Mexican Spanish. It's also a big country that offers a lot of regional variety, and it's not so expensive as a foreign tourist. Peru. So last but not least, I've heard a lot of people say that Peru also has a very neutral accent. It's a country with a lot of indigenous influences too, so that makes for fantastic cultural activities. It's also one of the less expensive South American destinations as well. So those would be my top picks to give you some inspiration, but ultimately, of course, what really matters is where you want to go and where you want to be. You're going to have a lot of trouble practicing with locals if you aren't particularly excited to be there. So most important is what really excites you and where you'd really love to go. Now, once you've picked your destination, here is a quick action plan for how to approach learning Spanish in any Latin American country. First of all, get started now and study before you go. I often hear the excuse, oh, I don't have time, or I can't study at home a lot. If you haven't seen my video on 7 tips to learn Spanish fast, I would suggest watching that right now. There are a lot of productive things you can do at home before your trip. There's no point wasting valuable time. You're going to feel more confident and ready to absorb all the daily interaction you have when you visit Latin America if you do a little bit of learning before you go. Either in country or before you leave, make sure to connect with a private tutor. Now, private tutors are ideal because you can tailor your lessons to your needs. They're also more affordable, and you can really make the most of your time when you're there rather than just going around dropping into local language schools. I'd recommend doing 2 to 3 hours a day once you arrive in the country if you have that time. And if you're an intermediate student, then make sure your classes focus on conversation and practice rather than just grammar, because the grammar you can get anywhere. If you're going to be traveling around, it is hard to get to know local people and also find meaningful opportunities to practice. So I would recommend staying in one place for at least a month rather than moving around all the time. It's a very good idea to rent an apartment, to stay with a local family, or do an Airbnb with locals rather than staying in a hotel or hostel, because in the hotel or hostel you will just find other tourists. Get into a schedule. Do your classes and study time in the morning, and then see the sights and take in cultural events in the afternoons and evenings. Cultural attractions in the country where you are really good for interacting with local people too. Even the people that work there, they're often very happy to find people enthusiastic about learning Spanish. Something else that I highly recommend is finding classes or activities that you can do alongside locals. When I was in Argentina, I took some martial arts classes where I lived in Buenos Aires, and this was a great way to meet local people and develop some meaningful relationships. So there you have it. This is your action plan. Make sure to let me know in the comments what you think, where you're going to go, what your plans are. I would love to hear about what you have planned. If you're excited to work on your Spanish, then I've created a huge selection of resources based on this video and other things that is everything you need to improve your Spanish. To get free access to this, then head over to the Spanish Vault, which you can find by clicking the link in the video description below. Please subscribe to this channel for much more like this, and I'll see you back in the next video. Adios!